Hello everyone and welcome to CCNA course. This is day 26 and I'm just going to speak about IPv6 addressing and types. I'm not going to go deep into that, but I'm just going to make it simple for you so that you understand what is going on behind the scene. In the beginning, maybe I speak about a little bit of history of IPv6. Why do we have IPv6? And why still IPv4 is prevalent and IPv6 has not become the actual standard and must do for everyone. And some of the things that is maybe daunting about IPv6 is the length of the IP address, and maybe understanding that is going to be a little bit challenging, but in the end you're going to know everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in a very practical order. I'm just going to show you how to read and write IPv6, what is the main address types, how EUI64 works. Although EUI64 is something which is automatic and everything is going to be done without your intervention, but most of the time you're going to say, okay, this is predictable and security hazards, so I'm not going to go through that. We're going to talk about this through the slides, and then we're going to talk we're going to do some static IPv6 on our lab. When you have IPv6 and IPv4 at the same time, what we have is a dual stack configuration. So we are going to see that dual stack is kind of becoming standard in the world, and some applications are being developed for IPv6, so IPv6 is going to be important for us. So let's go through some history first of all. Why IPv6? IPv6 has a bigger range of IP addresses. When you have 32 bits, what you have is going to be 2 to the power of 32, which is going to give you something like 4 billion, right? 4 billion addresses is not going to be so big these days. In the past, that was okay. IPv4 goes back to 19, I believe, 70 something or something like that. This is very, very old. And in that time, of course, we didn't have so many devices, so we even, allocated a big chunk of IPv4 for multicast, another one for experimental use, which we never used it. And in the end, we didn't have 4 billion. We had something like 3 billion IP addresses. And 3 billion IP addresses have depleted. I guess before even we entered the 21st century, we didn't have enough IPv4 addresses. But after that, there were some technologies like NAT, for example, or carrier-grade NAS, or what we call it NAT inside the NAT. So these kind of saved IPv4, and we still have IPv4 in use, and maybe the major IP addressing on the internet is IPv4 yet, but this is going to change, and we have to go for 128 bits of IP address, which is going to give us something like, I don't know, a big number of zeros in front of a 1. That's going to be huge, right? This is going to be enough, not just enough for current number of devices that need IP address, but even we can, I believe that we can even have for our clones later in other planets. Maybe we can have enough IPv6 addresses to allocate to all of them. So this is going to be very nice, right? We had NAT, and then we had carrier-grade NAT and different types of technologies that helped IPv4 survive. But nowadays we have cell phones for everybody. We have digital devices like, let's say, printers, for example, washing machines, fridges, different cameras, a lot of different stuff that we have, and all of them need an IP address just to work. So you can see that this is not going to be enough. 3 billion is not going to be enough. So we have to go for something better like IPv6, which is going to give us a huge number of IP addresses. So that is massive address space in here. Okay, so what do we want to know? We're going to have better aggregation options. We're going to talk about aggregations later, maybe when we talk about summarization, but you should know that aggregation is very huge. We are going to eliminate some of the stuff that really bother the network, like broadcast. We don't really want to have broadcast anymore. Multicast is going to do it for us. We have something which is called link local addressing, which is important for us, great for troubleshooting. And link local addressing is not just limited to IPv6. We have it in IPv4 as well. We have modern OSs that are dual stack. Like I said, when you have IPv4 and IPv6 at the same time, this is called dual stack configuration. Okay, so let's continue. What is some information that we need to know about IPv6? When we say IPv6 is hard, it isn't hard. This is because it looks very huge. You can see one of the IPv6 addresses in here. That seems very big, right? So let's go for my pen, and you can see that this is an IPv6 address. Huge number of digits, and these digits, they are not decimal digits, they are not binary digits, they are hexadecimal digits. What is hexadecimal? Let me just show you. We in binary, what we have is a 0 and 1, so that is called binary, right? Binary. With my very beautiful handwriting, I just wrote it for you, and I can even put a 0 in. Okay, so the next thing is going to be decimal. Yeah, for some reason I can definitely put anything here. Okay, decimal is going to give us 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's going to be 10 different digits, right? And now we have something which you could call it hexadecimal. Hexadecimal is going to give us something like 16 different digits. So there's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then we are going to have 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and finally we have 15. So you can see that we have 16 different digits in hexadecimal. That's going to give us a wide range of choices in here. Now, each one of these digits that you see here, that's going to be 4 bits. Each one of these hexadecimals are going to have 4 bits. So each one of them is going to go into here, and it's going to give us 4 bits. And they can have different values, of course. The value could be anything from 0 up to S in here, right? So we are having something like 1, 2, 3, 4 in here, and then 8 different parts in here. So that's going to give us something like 32 different digits in an IPv6 address. And we have just put them in different chunks. We have just put them in 4 digits parts. And this 4 digits parts, because they are 16 bits each, we call it a hexad. You remember octets in IPv4, because we had 8 bits in every part. So that is called an octet. This is called an hexad. So we have something like 8 different groups of 4 hex digits in here, which is going to give us 32 hexadecimal digits in here. And that's going to give us 8 hexad. That's going to give us a 128-bit address. Okay. That's going to be a little daunting, like I said, right? But in the beginning, it seems something like that. But you can see that we have some stuff in here that we can kind of summarize it. How can we summarize it? Let me just show you something in the next slide. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. What I am having here is what we call it a shortening of IPv6 address. There are 2 rules, not so big, but those 2 rules are very, very important. So what we have here is this. Drop the leading zeros. Leading zeros like here. For example, I have 0012, and I don't say 12 because these are hexadecimal values, but sometimes we can call it 12. And people do that, but what I mean is this. These 00s are leading zeros, so I can just omit them. And I can just have 1, 2 between the 2 colons in here. There's another one here. A leading 0 can be omitted, so I have db8 in here. I have all these zeros in here, and the second rule says if you have all zeros, what you can do is you can just put just 1 0 instead of all of them. That's going to be the same, right? So I can just omit this and just have 1 0 instead of this and 1 0 instead of this. Interesting. Now something interesting is going to be as rule number 2. Rule number 2 says if you have all zeros, you can just combine them into double colon. all zeros could be combined into double colon, right? So let's see that. Applying the first rule gave us this. All the leading zeros have been eliminated. Now we are going to apply the second rule here. I have 0, 0 in here. I'm going to combine them into one double colon, like this. See that? A double colon is here. Okay, what if I have multiple of these? How can I do that? Let me see. Then I'm just going to give you a simple example in here. Okay, so I'm just going to say we have something like 2001, which I call a 2001, but of course this is not 2001 because when I say 2001, what I mean is that's a decimal number, but this is hexadecimal number. So the better way to read this is going to be 2001, but the easier way is going to be 2001. Okay, so I'm going to have something like this. So I have this zero, all zeros of course, and I'm not trying to all of them based on the first rule, and then I have another zero, and then I have another zero, and then I have, let's say, a b the 0 0, and then I have 0 0 a, and how many is that? 1 2 3 4 5 6, and I still have two hexadecimal. So I'm going to go with, let's say, 0 0 0 0, and in the end I have something like 1 2 3 4. Okay, so how can I summarize this? Can I summarize this or not? Yes, of course. You can see that I have multiple zeros hexadecimal. I can combine all of them into one double colon. So I'm just going to say 2001, and then I'm going to go with double colon, and after that we are going to have a b. And can I just omit these zeros? No, they are not leading, they are trailing, so I have to keep them. So I have this one, but in here I have leading zeros, so I can just omit them. So I'm going to have something like a in here, and then there's going to be another one in here which I can just combine, contract it into 0, and finally I have 1 2 3 4. Easy, right? Interesting. Let me give you another example. I'm just going to write it up here. Okay, so I have something like this, 2001, and then I have 0 0 0, then I have a, and then I have another 0, then I have another 0, and then 1 2 3 4. How many is this? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. That's right. So we have this. Now applying the second rule, I can say there are multiple hexadecimal, all zeros in here, and there are multiple hexadecimal, all zeros are in here. Which one can I contract into double colon? Can I do both? No. You can use it only once. So either this one is going to be contracted into double colon, or this one. Which one do you go for? You can go with any of them, doesn't matter. But the best one, of course, in my idea, is going to be the biggest number of zeros. So I'm just going to put it in the beginning. So I'm just going to contract it. I can just go with this. That's going to be 21001. That's going to be double colon. It's going to be with double colon, and after that, that's going to be double A, then 0, then 0, then 1 2 3 4. You see that? I cannot really go double colon multiple times. Only 2 times, and that's all that we have in here. So only once in the same address, otherwise nobody can re-expand it reliably. So that is very important to understand. Okay, so this is not going to be, I'm not going to extend this course very much. I'm just going to kind of cut it into multiple parts so that it's going to be easier for you, and you can practice with this because practicing is important. So what I'm going to do is to just talk about the prefix length in here. And after that, the next of this is going to be another part. So the prefix length in here, what we have is, by default, we are going to go with 64-bit / 64. Do you remember the subnet masking in IPv4? We do have the same thing in here, and this is very much different from what you have in IPv4, because in IPv4, you have only a few bits to play with. Here, you have a huge amount of addresses to play with, because you are kind of dividing the 128 bits into 2, and half of that is going to be your, let's say, network ID, half of that is going to be your subnet ID, and the subnet ID is something like 2 to the power of 64 items, 64 different addresses. That's huge. But we are not going to do this all the time. /64 is going to be the default, but this is not going to be everywhere. So what you need to know is this, /128. So /128 is a host route. It's exactly like what we have for loopback interfaces when we have /32 for IPv4. So for loopback 0, for example, what I have is, let's say, for example, 1111/32. If I want to allocate IPv6 address, that's going to be something like maybe 2000 : and then in the end 1/128, which means that that is going to be a host route. So that's it. /64 for the normal, let's say, LAN or VLAN subnetting, that's going to be used for that. And we have a /64 for the network ID, /64 for the let's say prefix length, or what we call it, the subnet max. If you want to have a smaller site allocation, we can go with the /56, which is going to give us something like 48 bits for the network, for the IP addressing of the devices, for the host part actually. So /56 is going to go for a smaller site, but still huge actually. We can also go with bigger networks. Bigger networks can receive /48, or if your enterprise is huge, you can receive /32 from your internet registries. But this means that you can have a lot of different options. You can go with 65,000 different devices inside 64 different subnets. So that's going to be something like, I don't know, 64 times 65,000. I don't know what the number is going to be. You can just multiply and see how many devices you can have in your network. That's a huge amount of addresses. And finally, something like 0000/0 in IPv4 is /0 in here, which means that everything matches everything that you have in here. Okay, let's just stop right here. So far, what I have done is I have spoken about the hexadecimal values. I told you what IPv6 addressing is like, and why we need IPv6 addresses, and why IPv4 is going to come short in a lot of different situations. I'm just going to continue understanding IPv6 in the next videos.